our center. Reverend Liz Mirante has been a minister with Centers for Spiritual Living since 1999. Receiving her ordination in 2003, Reverend Liz hails from the Seattle area, where she did her ministerial training and served on the staff of CSL Seattle for 14 years, as well as raising her two daughters. Between two several-month stints teaching for the center in Ukraine, Liz served as senior minister of the Monterey Center for Spiritual Living from 2008 through 2013. Liz is delighted to be back in the Pacific Northwest as of June of 2018, not retiring, but rewiring. A quote from the Sufi master Meher Baba encapsulates the theme of Liz's ministry: where love is present, the path to truth is joyous. Welcome back, Reverend Liz.
Thank you. Good morning. Good morning, Monterey. It's so wonderful to be with all of you. I miss being down there sometimes, especially when it starts getting gray here, which it has. And I'm very grateful that you asked me to come and be with you today. I'm so grateful to Reverend Robert for having me, and all of the rest of you for saying, yeah, I guess we can listen to her again. So if you find me a little bit out of sync, it's not too bad right now, but you may want to, I've done this before on Zoom, is just, sort of lean back, close your eyes a little bit, it just let me be sort of a fog. So on to today. So I love the theme that many of our CSL centers are doing, the Living Everyday Wonder. And I especially love it this month for finances, because it's a wonderful context for looking at finances, and not one that we usually do. Everyday wonder around our finances. It's a great, this theme and this teaching is such a great teaching for this particular area of our lives. Many of you know our little tagline, change your thinking, change your life. And finances is for sure an area where you can start seeing changes when you change your thinking about it. And I believe that last week, you guys were listening to a talk about checking into your beliefs about finances, abundance, prosperity. And as you start uncovering things you weren't aware of, you can see where changes need to be made. You can see where you might start limiting, where you might have been limiting yourself in ways you didn't know. So that's really powerful. And this thing called money is always so crazy. When I taught foundations class, we used to do an exercise called the flow exercise. And I would instruct folks to take out a denomination, a bill that they didn't mind losing. And so maybe for some it was a 1, for some it was a 20. And they'd wander around and I'd say, stop. And then they would find someone and say, please accept this with my blessing. And it was fascinating to watch people and ask people what they experienced, because you sure could see the folks who really did not want to give that bill away because they thought they would never get anything back. And the people who would get something and they couldn't wait to find somebody else to give it away to. So very profound in looking at how we do this thing called money. So I want to give you a great affirmation to just take in right now as we begin. And so I'll say it and then I'll have you repeat it. I trust and live in the flow of divine good. So close your eyes and say that with me now. I trust and live in the flow of divine good. Breathe. How does that feel for you? Is that true for you in this moment? So as we go through today's talk, see where you are with that idea of trusting and living in divine flow of good. I'll be using a little bit one of my favorite authors for prosperity, and some of you have read some of these books with me, and they're by a unity minister named Eric Butterworth. Spiritual Economics is one, and In the Flow of Life is the other. And they are wonderful for looking at all kinds of flow, finances, health, everything. So I very much recommend him. And he has a wonderful thing to tell us, which is you are a dynamic center in divine flow. You, each one of you, is a center, a dynamic center in divine flow. So as we contemplate these two statements, let's look at three aspects of flow and then talk about how we live into them. The first thing to know about flow is to know its source. And especially when we're talking about the flow of abundance, it's important to not get mixed up, because we often do, that the source of your flow of good is not the economy and how it's doing or not doing. It's not your job. It's not your spouse. It's not your family. None of those things are your source, as tempting as it is to believe they are. And if we think of those things as our source, then we know that that can go away. We know what the economy can do. We're experiencing some fun with it right now. So if that is our source of good, if that is our source of divine flow, then we are always going to be subject to the currents of the economy. So what is the source of our good, of our flow? It's God, the infinite, the universe, whatever you want to call it, the whole enchilada. What did we used to say? I can't remember whose grandchild it was, the Uniforce. And it's important to know that if God is our source, then what we know automatically is that means it's infinite. It is infinite. It is ever present. It is right where I am, right where you are, right here and right now. And it is inexhaustible. Your source, my source of flow of good is inexhaustible. Too many of us, often without realizing it, live in what I call the pie theory of good. That there's only so much good to go around. And if I have good in certain areas, then I can't have good in another area. Or if I have great good, then I'm taking it from someone else. Throw out the pie theory of good. That good that is God is inexhaustible. And there's only one limit. There's only one limit to that good, and that is our ability to receive, our ability to embody that divine good. If we are saying, no, I don't deserve, if we're saying, oh, I got my health, so I shouldn't want for anything else, then we are limiting. We are going back to the pie theory. One of the ways we talk about our ability to embody good is in the concept of mental equivalence. How good can I stand it? How much good is normal for me before I start to get uncomfortable? Have you ever had that idea of it's getting so good, I'm getting a little nervous? Something's going to happen. That's our limited mental equivalent. So one of the things we do when we take classes is we learn to start expanding our mental equivalent, because you can live paycheck to paycheck, and many of us do, many of us have, and think, oh, if I just got more money, then I wouldn't live paycheck to paycheck. But there are countless stories of people who got the raise, got a new job, and still found themselves living paycheck to paycheck, even if the numbers were different. Because it's a consciousness of living in flow, of having enough and more than enough to share and to spare. That is being able to embody that flow. So we have to be able to receive, to take that good when it comes our way. So ask yourself, where are you with receiving? Where are you with embodying that divine good? Can you accept it as your birthright? Can you accept it as something you deserve? Because it is God's great pleasure to give you the kingdom. I didn't make that up. That was written a long time ago, long time ago. So knowing our source and knowing that that source is absolutely inexhaustible. The second thing we want to know about flow, we want to experience, is assimilation. When a stream receives the water from the mountains, from wherever it flows down, it has to go into the stream, the beds, the earth around it to nurture it. If the water just shot right through the stream or the pond, kept going, then nothing would flourish there. Similarly with us when we eat. Diarrhea is not healthy, because that's just our system flushing out everything without taking any nourishment. We have to assimilate for our food to do us any good, and we must let ourselves be in a position to assimilate flow, to assimilate financial good. And this is also a part of looking at what we tell ourselves we deserve. Can we really accept and use the good, the financial good that comes into our lives to nurture and nourish ourselves? Or do we have to be like those people I would sometimes see in that flow exercise, giving it away as soon as it comes in, giving it away as soon as it comes in? Oh, hot potato. Money is not a hot potato. What are your beliefs? Look at your beliefs about it. Does it burn a hole in your pocket? One of the best ways to think about assimilation and practicing assimilation in our lives with finances is to take 10% and put it into savings, to invest it, to do that for ourselves, to support ourselves, to nourish ourselves, so that this good flows into us, moves through us, energizes us, expands us, supports us, and then moving into the third, which is release. So as now I'm trying, I think it's as Cindy read, I think it was the quote from Ernest Holmes that Cindy read, we are outlets. We are outlets for the divine. We are inlets to receive that divine flow or that divine influx of good, of creativity, of abundance, of love. And then we assimilate it, use it for ourselves, and then we become the outlets, we become the generators of it. Hoarding our good is not serving us. You've heard the phrase, something's got to give. Well, when we say that is because when things are all constricted and they're ready to explode, something's got to give. So what a great phrase to say, something's got to give, and that would be us. We need to give when we feel tight, when we feel constricted, whether it's time, whether it's finances, whether it's feeling lonely, it's time to give. Think about when you're so afraid, you hold on tight to things. Say, well, I better save all of this. We've already assimilated, remember? But then we think, oh, I've got to save all of this. Well, how much can you receive when your hand is like this? Nothing. The good is just going to drop and flow around it. We have to have an open hand to receive the good and then to give it out. And it's very important also that we look at how we give and what we give. Eric Butterworth talks about two kinds of giving, and it's really part of this is the consciousness which we give. He talks about giving from a sense of the outer. So that would be obligation. That would also be that idea of giving to get. That depletes us. If we give always to an outer eye of what's going to come back to us, then we often are depleted. Whereas if we give motivated from within, giving from that sense of divine flow, then not only are we blessed by our giving, but our giving blesses everyone. Now, our giving is also our spending. So when we spend money for the things that we need, our utilities, clothes, food, to be conscious, to bring that inner consciousness to bear of gratitude and of flow, that I see this flow as I spend this money consciously for the things that I require for my livingness. And that we need to be conscious. A lot of times we spend that money and we complain that we have to do it, instead of saying, look at what this is bringing into my life. Many of you probably already have this practice that as you pay your bill, well, how many of us write checks? I do a few, but in the old days when we were all writing checks for our utilities and all that stuff, a lot of people would have the practice of writing thank you in the memo line for themselves, to be in the gratitude and recognition of the flow that allows us to keep our own lights on. So that's part of the consciousness of when we spend our money mindfully on the things that we require and being grateful as we do it. And then, of course, there's giving and tithing. And I love when I'm the guest speaker, because I don't mind talking about tithing at all. It's not self-serving for me. Tithing, as we know, is an age-old practice of giving 10% of all that comes into us. And how I think it's most useful to define where we tithe is that we tithe to where we get spiritually fed. If you get spiritually fed by this center, and if you're showing up, I'm presuming you are getting spiritually fed by this center, then at least part of your tithe should go to this center. If you read an author who inspires you, you can send part of your tithe to that author. I have done that. I tithe to musicians because they inspire me. And then on top of that, we can consciously give to those charities that we want to support to create the world we want to see. That's not necessarily a tithe, although some charities inspire me. So I would consider that part of my tithe. And I don't have time to say a whole bunch. I've given whole talks about tithing, but it's easy to get superstitious and to tithe to get back again, and then you're bartering. You're not giving, you're bartering. Many prosperity teachers will recommend we tithe, and then we can feel like we have to, and we're bad if we don't. And what I love about Eric Butterworth is he says this, he says, it is a technique for fulfilling the law of giving. It's not a magic button, it's a technique. So, you know, we can think that we can't tithe, but over and over and over again, people who tithe and tithe consciously and tithe not fearfully, but from a sense of that divine flow to where we are truly spiritually inspired. As we do that, something shifts in our abundance. And I encourage later those of you who have your own experiences with tithing to share. Because for some of us, it's a new idea and a scary idea, and oh, the church just wants my money. Well, just reminding those of you who might be newer, home office does not send our individual centers money. And I know that I still ate as a minister, and I think Robert eats as a minister. So, you know, we don't just live on air. So if you are spiritually fed by this community, tithe, or start with 1% or 2%, but start getting yourself in a disciplined habit and keep looking at where you are giving from. So where are you with that giving? How is that in your life? Is that something you are generous with or still working on, or is that where sometimes you get stuck? Because we all have our places. So let's kind of review and talk about how this flow in action. So to experience truly and practice living in divine flow, we need to first be a grateful receiver, to recognize that good is available to everyone, it's available to us. And watch how you go through anything that comes your way. I always like to talk about something as simple as compliments, because a lot of us, especially women, although not just women, a lot of us, somebody gives us a compliment and we deflect. You guys might remember me doing my Wonder Woman with her bracelets, deflecting compliments. That's one way we don't allow ourselves to receive. And the more that we deflect any good that comes our way, the more we're signaling the universe, okay, yeah, stop, I don't want any. So watch yourself. Are you a grateful receiver? When people give you things, do you express your gratitude and appreciate, even if it's not something you want, appreciate the love, the care with which it's given? Be grateful and open that heart. So be a grateful receiver. Be in that part of the flow. Be in receiving from source. Be a generous giver. When you give, and when I mean generous, I don't just necessarily mean give big things or expensive gifts, because sometimes that doesn't work for us at this point in our life. But it's, are we giving from care and love? Or are we just giving something because we think we should? It occurred to me when I was preparing this talk that, we say, as we give, so shall we receive abundantly. Well, let's sort of change that in our minds. I mean, I think that's true, but let's also say, as we give with love, with expectation of good, with consciousness, with a sense of the divine flow, then our receiving can be with love and that great consciousness. So as we give, as we receive, pay attention to what we're thinking. And this is a little side thing and would be 5 more talks. But I think to stay in divine flow, this is very important. Edwene Gaines, who is one of our prosperity goddesses, says this: if you want to be prosperous, keep in the flow, you must forgive. You must keep current with your forgiveness. Any place you close down your heart and refuse to forgive, you are blocking flow. So like I said, whole other talk, but just wanted to throw that in there. And then finally, tithe. Find ways to give back to source, ways to give back to that which inspires you. And if it's a new practice, you can do as our dear friend Adina Reynolds would, and really play with unexpected income. And that means whenever something would show up that she wasn't expecting, could be something on sale, it could be a refund, it could be somebody took her to lunch out of the blue, that she would tithe on that. And she would keep a little notebook and write down the things so she would know what she had to tithe on, but what she wanted to tithe on. But what it also did was help her realize how much flow was coming into her life unexpectedly. And it's a fun game. And another thing, another whole talk, is whatever we put our attention on increases. Whatever we put our attention on increases. So if you start making a practice of tithing on unexpected income, keep looking for it, guess what? There'll be more. And that could be good. Now, if all this conversation and all this month has gotten you kind of panicked or feeling stuck, then you are in the right place, because you can make use of our wonderful consciousness plumbers to help you get back into flow. Our consciousness plumbers, AKA our practitioners, are there to assist you in finding out where you might be stuck. What are the beliefs that are keeping you from experiencing this inexhaustible flow of good? They're there. Use them. Pay them. They are there. They are trained in listening, understanding, hearing the beliefs, helping draw them out so you can identify them. And through spiritual mind treatment, breaking through those old beliefs to the truth of you experiencing that inexhaustible flow. So let's start that plumbing work by praying as we close out this part of the service. So I invite you to close your eyes and take another deep breath. I'm going to. As I just center my mind squarely on the truth that God is all there is, and that God is inexhaustible source. There is no time, no space, no place where God can ever be depleted. That there is nothing that can be given of God that can ever deplete that infinite, inexhaustible supply. It is the truth of our lives. And so right here and right now, knowing that I am one with that inexhaustible source, that each of us is one with that inexhaustible source, I speak my word that we enact the nature of that source by living in the divine flow. That is the truth of being. That we live as the centers of divine flow that we are. The dynamic centers of divine flow, so that we are open to receive the good that wants to flow into our lives. We are open to receive. We don't have to bat it away. We don't question whether we deserve it. We open to it. We take from that flow to nurture our lives, our livingness, to support ourselves, to invest in ourselves and our own physical futures. We assimilate that flow of good. And then, knowing that we live in the excess, we give. We give in support of our lives, in support of those things that support our lives. And we give to those people, those organizations, those teachings that support the life we each want to live, that support our deeper knowing of this truth. And I speak my word that for each of us, we expand this sense of trusting and living in flow, that we expand our mental equivalence, that we expand our ability to receive, that we expand and know truly in our depth that it is our Father's good pleasure to give us the kingdom. We are here to see it, receive it, enjoy it, use it, and by God, share it. I give thanks that this is so. And I speak the word that anything that blocks this knowing, anything in any one of us that blocks this knowing is now being made known to us so we can release it in the light of the truth of that inexhaustible flow and allow ourselves to step into it, live in it, and prosper. I give thanks for this. I give thanks for this opportunity. I give thanks to know this is the truth of our lives. And I release this word knowing it is already done. It is already so. And so it is. And
Ooh. Thank you, Reverend Liz. That was such a wonderful talk and so appropriate at this time of the year when we start to move into Thanksgiving. And next month's theme is forgiveness, which is part of that whole receiving and flow. I just want to remind people, as Reverend Liz said in her talk, that there are powerful prayer partners here in this center that can work with you, not only in the challenging times, but in the good times too. So see a practitioner regularly for a tune-up and to keep you in the flow. Our contact information is posted in our newsletter and on our website, and we are always available for spiritual coaching, regardless of your financial situation. We're here to serve, to love you, and help you open up new channels of circulation, receiving good, receiving love, receiving inspiration. And speaking of sharing our abundance, I would invite all of us to join in our affirmation statement of abundance. So please say with me, I recognize the presence of God within as a source of my abundance. Out of my abundance consciousness flows everything I could desire in life. With gratitude and thanksgiving, I now participate in the flow of uninterrupted abundance. This prosperous experience is evidence of my abundance consciousness. We have many ways for you to participate in supporting the law of abundance in this center through mail at our address in Monterey on Franklin Street, or you can text the word give to the phone number posted on our slideshow, or online or montereycsl.org at our secure website. All donations are greatly appreciated and are circulated back out into the community with our tithing to those places, organizations that assist in creating a better world. So before we say goodbye to our Facebook and virtual audience, I want to put a plug in for our Manifesting More Money workshop, which starts tomorrow evening. So Amber, let's play the video.
Hello there, I'm Reverend Cheryl McCreary, the creator and facilitator of Manifest More Money. You know, so many of our New Thought communities, our members are struggling right now about money. There's constant news of inflation, recession, gas prices, and it's easy to forget the truth. The truth is we live in an abundant universe. The truth is that unlimited abundance is our divine birthright. It's time to heal our relationship with money. If that's work you want to do, I invite you to join me in the online course, Manifest More Money. We're kicking off on October 31st. We are going to do a deep dive into spiritual practice and practical actions to help you bust through your money set point, to help you release old toxic money beliefs that are holding you back, to help you manifest more money with ease and grace, and to help you move into divine right relationship with money. If that sounds like work you want to do, I want you to join me on October 31st. Now, the good thing is your center has its own unique registration link, and I want you to use that link and that link only to register for this course. When you do, your center will receive a percentage of your registration fee. I am partnering with your center's profit sharing, so we all benefit. Listen, we're going to kick off on Mondays, 6:30 to 8:30 p.m. Pacific time, starting October 31st for 5 Mondays. I hope you'll join me. I look forward to seeing you there. I will see you and Manifest More Money. Bye.
One other announcement before we say goodbye to our Facebook audience, and that is just a reminder on November 24th, which is Thanksgiving morning at 10 o'clock, we will be doing a gratitude service of 30 minutes via Zoom, and it'll be the same Zoom link as our Sunday service. So with that, thank you, Facebook people, for joining us. Be sure to like our service. And we'll see you back next week when we begin our talks on forgiveness, a powerful thing to discover and explore for the month of November. And now at this time, I'd like to